Okay, so welcome to the second CURVA Calcio Podcast. It's a little bit of a shortened one today. We're just going to talk about some things that happened throughout the international break. It was kind of, we have a little bit of those international break blues. We missed Serie A, but Italy played well. So we have a few talking points about that.
6 out of 6.
They remained 6 out of 6 under Mancini, yeah. And that's and I believe they've won 9 in a row.
7.
Has it 7? I think
7.
It was 9.
No, I think
we're gonna have to
7.
fight over that. It's gonna be a dispute. I think they won. No, they broke a record for Euro wins in a row. I think something like that.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But yeah, they've been playing well. I mean, not necessarily well, but they've been playing to win, right? Enough to win. And their group is kind of easy, to be honest.
I mean,
like they're not stuck with Sweden like last time. Yeah, so this is going to be a shortened podcast. We're going to talk a few talking points, maybe talk about what's going to happen this weekend. There's a few good games, including the big derby match between Juve and Fiorentina, which hopefully promises to be good. But yeah, so our producer Anthony has a few talking points, and Nino has a couple of questions. Il Dottore, yeah. And you made fun of me for saying that. Il Dottore.
Well, it's got a little bit of a nice ring to it.
It's got a nice ring, right, for a guy with a PhD. So Anthony,
Not yet.
not yet. Well, he's
Working
PhD,
on it.
PhD candidate.
Candidate, there it is.
So yeah, what?
You hear about Juve's renewal of Jeep?
No, I did not hear about that. I'd like to be
50 million. So
enlightened.
previously it was 20 million a season, but because of Ronaldo, I think it's up to 50 now. Potentially up to 50
Yeah, I heard about that.
euros. 50 million euros.
That's very interesting.
So look at what the magic of Ronaldo, eh? Not only as the talent, brings the talent of a player,
Yeah.
but financial talent.
There's a bit of a debate going on, and has been since he signed, whether Ronaldo's signing was for performance or for monetary reasons and like actual building the brand. I mean, you can argue it was a bit of both.
I think logically it's a bit of both, right?
But what were their intentions though? Because really, they didn't necessarily need Ronaldo to win the Champions League, but you see the financial benefits of having Ronaldo, and also the brand's been growing, right? So
they definitely got both from it, right? Like they definitely needed someone that'll be there, show up at the big time, like the big games.
Like Higuain. Fucking love Higuain.
I
love
Higuain.
I
love Higuain.
He's killing it now.
I have a soft spot for
He's
him.
back.
He's
back. Did you see that move against
Koulibaly?
Koulibaly? Like, come on, that
Yes,
Napoli
I
game,
see
that
that.
move.
Oh, that was
And the way he put it in the net, top right bin.
That was
Oh
that.
my
You know
God.
what? I hate saying like
He looked like a
world
gazelle.
class.
His leg extended like a gazelle in the fields.
No, but
it was
like,
beautiful.
a lot of-
Koulibaly was the lion ready to pounce.
Yeah.
And Higuain just like, it's like, no.
A lot of
Not happening
people
today.
overuse the term world class, but that was a world class move. Like the touch and the
But
control,
the finish
and
as well.
The finish was
Oh
perfect.
my
Yeah.
God. I watched that like maybe 15 times over.
Yeah, Higuain, he doesn't have the best speed or anything anore, but in the box, I don't think
he's
there's
working
many
harder.
better.
He's working
strikers.
harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to this Ronaldo topic. You said Jeep.
Oh, you don't want to
increased.
talk about Lukaku Inter?
I thought you wanted to talk about Lukaku. You're
We can
Did
get
you hear
into
about-
that.
did you hear
We can
about,
get- I'm actually interested. Adidas.
Do you hear about Demba Ba?
What happened to him? He's been around for a long
You
time.
heard what he said about Serie A?
No.
He said all black athletes should boycott Serie A.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit subjective of him. Where has he been? In China, Turkey?
He's in Turkey right now.
He's in Turkey.
I think
He's-
I think he's still with Besiktas.
I think he's like.
Yeah, no,
Nikola-
I think he is still in Turkey. Yeah, I
Do
think
you remember?
that's right.
Do you remember Nicholas Anelka? He was like the,
the
guy.
West, the West Brom.
No, but he literally
The
went to,
biggest-
and he
yeah.
won a title with Juve. He played 3
He
or 4
did.
games with Juve
Yeah,
one year.
2014.
2012, I think.
No.
2012. Look it up on Wikipedia.
What's that? What do you want me to look up?
Nicholas Anelka. He was a great striker, and then he just became like a world traveler. He went to like every country. I think he was short of going to like Indonesia or like Kazakhstan. Like he was.
So what do you want to know? Where he played?
When he played for Juve, I believe it was 2012, 2013.
2013.
Yeah,
On loan.
On loan, yeah.
2 apps.
From West Brom.
From Shanghai.
Oh,
SIPG?
No, I'm joking.
Oh,
Not
okay.
Shanghai. Not from Shanghai. Can't be.
But he did
it can't-
play. He
He
played,
played on
China.
Shanghai from 2012 to 2015.
No, which Shanghai team was it? SIPG.
Shenhua.
Oh, Shenhua.
So wait, he played Shenhua. Sorry,
Shenhua.
sorry, I'm white.
No, I don't even know, to be honest. But,
Yeah, there you go.
Say it in your Japanese accent, GP.
I don't have a Japanese
You do.
accent. I have an Italian or a Canadian
Can
or
we?
something.
Can you show us your Japanese a bit?
I won't.
think-
Maybe one
I
show
think
I
the
will do
listeners
it.
want to hear your Japanese.
I'm
So
not-
our host John Paulo,
Oh,
he's actually a second degree black belt, and he's been to Japan to
Have you been to Japan?
to win his belt.
No.
Can we hear your Japanese,
Yo,
Jean Paulo?
actually,
I've never been to
offered-
Japan
I've been
before.
offered
Can we hear
to
your
go.
Japanese, please?
No, I'm not doing that.
Please?
It's not doing it.
Okay.
One podcast I will do it, but I'm not going to do it right now.
So wait, was he on loan from Shanghai then?
Or
to
either
Juve?
that or I think you're right. It was West Brom or something.
It doesn't
He was in the
He
Premier
was-
League, right?
He was. He played for Chelsea.
Yeah, he played for
West
Chelsea.
Brom.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
after Chelsea, he went to Shanghai.
He literally did a bit of like a world tour. Went to Mumbai. He went to
Good
India.
for him. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, he went to Mumbai,
Mumbai
City.
City FC. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean he was good at one point. He played with Drogba at Chelsea.
Played for the
I believe.
Bolton Wanderers.
That Chelsea team back in the day, not to divert a little bit from Serie A, but that Chelsea team when they had all the great play. They had Lampard in his prime. They had
Michael
Drogba,
Ballack.
Michael Ballack. Yeah, they had.
Oh, one thing I want to talk about. Did you guys hear about that? It was kind of a slight to Serie A, showing that those low-end Prem teams made more money or had more broadcasting views than like Juventus.
Well, it's interesting because there's a site, I think it's Spot Rack, I believe. I don't wanna plug the wrong site, but I've been kind of looking at different finances from different teams the last couple of years, and basically the Prem, it's not a slight against City, it's a slight against all of Europe.
Well, the journalist was kind of like being a little bit sassy
yeah,
towards
but
Serie
you
A.
can make the same argument with La Liga or with Bundesliga, like they're top,
Especially the Bundesliga.
especially them, but even La Liga too, because
all of them, like Europe's or England's just one of those like even like the smaller teams are making more money off TV rights than more than half of the teams, like even the top 5 and all the
How
other
many
leagues.
how many Premier League teams are sponsored by American companies?
Sponsored, I know for sure owners. Like I know they have the Glazers in with Manchester United. They're sponsored by Chevrolet, right?
Yes.
Another American owner, I believe, is Liverpool.
Is
owned
it
by
Man
the-
City an American?
They're-
Because they're linked with New York City.
But
FC.
they're Arab. They're
Oh, that's right.
Saudi
Yes,
owners.
yes.
But they purchase a team in Brazil. They purchase a team in New York, which ends up being their farm team. They just and I think they have a team in Australia. They have Melbourne. Yeah. So so what's interesting though is the lower end Prem teams, they basically have a higher revenues than, let's say, 3/4 of Serie A teams, or 3/4 of La Liga teams. In terms of payroll, like Burnley has a higher payroll than most of Serie A teams.
Yeah, I think that was
Which is crazy, but it's
yeah.
also indicative of like what's happening in the Prem,
Trying to
which is
find the
literally there's we could talk about this one day, the whole European Super League model that there's the rumor that's going around, and the reason is because the Prem is just blowing everybody away. They're literally on one scale, like they're just on their own. They're on their island, right? Yeah, exactly. And then all of Europe is just basically trying to catch up, and that's why in each league, you have Juventus. They're making a lot of money and everything, but their revenues still aren't. Their revenues may be comparable to Tottenham or something like that, which is just still pretty.
Not just that, but Premier League teams make a lot more money off their sponsorships as well. Juventus increased, or Adidas also went to 51 million.
Yeah.
A season. They increased from like I think 20, 25.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at all Premier League teams, their sponsors give much more significant quantities relative, especially to Serie A.
I want to talk about one other thing.
Because Rocco Comasi was saying the same thing, the owner of Fiorentina.
Rocco Camiso?
Would you
Yes.
say Camasso?
Yeah.
Well,
I was
this is
close.
becoming a running joke now about Nino and his inability to pronounce names like Liche. But no, Camiso.
Cagliari.
I have no.
Calgary.
Calgary, they were Canadian. No, honestly,
What's that?
Calgary.
no, but the issue though is that if you look at the English Championship, the amount of revenues in that
Did you
league,
hear about Bury?
Bury's dead.
Yeah, they're done.
Bury
No.
My
Yeah.
FIFA career mode is over.
City. Yeah. Oh, what was it? I know this is becoming like a Prem podcast, which it shouldn't. But who was it? There was one team I think in the championship where they had issues with finances and they couldn't pay professional players.
Did you know that happened with Dortmund?
When did it happen?
Borussia Dortmund?
Well, didn't
And
Bayern Munich? They saved them.
They assisted, I think, 3 mil to them
Yeah.
and got them back up.
So here's the
ICH are in second place.
Yeah, there's a salary gap between Juve and Inter. So
Well,
Juve's at 325 mil, and Inter's half of that.
You play your players ridiculous.
Yeah. No, but hold on.
Who pays
this is kind of like
$31 million
if you look at a chart for military spending.
Yeah.
The U.S. is at so many billions or trillions.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Juve, and then underneath them is China, or Russia, but they're like it's a huge gap. It looks like this actually.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not last year the gap was a little bit less, even though they had Ronaldo. Like for instance, Ronaldo's salary I think is around 35 million euro a season. And the closest one is another Juventus player at 6 or 7, which is a crazy gap. But then again, in all of football, it's a big gap. Like Messi makes a certain amount, and then who's the second highest paid player in La Liga, or like third or fourth? It'd be like 6 or 7 million. So it's not like some leagues are gradually different. And the Prem, if you ask me, I think the Prem, they had more players that were overpaid for their value.
Well, look at Maguire.
Okay, Maguire's a different story, but even last year.
Okay, but you know what?
That was an $80 million.
He's had an impressive beginning of the season.
Yeah, but still, you don't know what's going to happen to him 6
would
months
you really
from now?
say that Manchester United has been a... I don't want to talk about the Prem,
not
but...
Manchester United.
Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire.
Yeah, but like, can you really say he's had an impressive start if Manchester United themselves haven't really had an impressive start? Like I said, I don't want to touch on
well, I mean, look who.
I've been saying this
we are.
We are.
Leading their line,
it's okay.
Okay, you want to
look how many injuries they have too, right?
You want a little bit of English connection, then, and then we'll move on from it. The story of Notts County, the first team that Juve played. Okay, a little backstory of it, and I'm sure there's many people who know this already, Juve fans. But Juventus used to wear pink. And
no way.
And then they had some issues with their jerseys, and they needed new jerseys. They had some Englishmen who said, okay, I know a couple of buddies from Notts County in England, and they can bring over some jerseys. We can try them out. And they were the black and white stripes, and then they stuck with them. So stop laughing. So when Juventus opened their new stadium in 2011, the first team they played as a friendly was Notts County.
Yeah.
And I forget the score of that. So recently, Notts County, they've been having a lot of financial troubles, and they can't even. They needed new jerseys, and they asked Juventus, "You want to help us out?" And I think Juve tried, and there was some issues with Adidas, and I think it was Adidas and Puma or something along the lines.
Yeah, I think it was with the shirt sponsors.
Shirt sponsors, right?
Like not the sponsors, but like Adidas would want not because Notts County was not like signed with Adidas. Right?
What were their? I forget what they were. We're talking about Notts County. They were 3rd Division England or something like that. Yeah, but they were. I think if I'm not mistaken, they're the oldest club in England.
My heart remains with Bury.
Your heart should remain with Inter. You shouldn't jump around. I mean, it's easy to jump around when you're an Inter fan because they haven't won anything
Inter
in
fan.
so long since they had Milito. But
well, I mean, now that we
He's
have
been sleeping
a great
for
team,
9 years.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope when Anthony goes to Turin and they play Bologna.
Torino.
Turin. I don't think he goes to Turin.
It reminds me when they had the Olympics and they had it on TV.
Actually, I might see the Bologna Juve game. I'm hoping to see that.
Hope
that's you know what.
Calcio scores.
You
just starts whistling his hair in the wind.
That little thing at the
back. What is that little string?
He's had it forever. I don't know what you call it, but I don't like it.
I call it a rat tail.
That's literally if
that was probably like 15 years ago. I
maybe
think.
15 or even longer. I don't know. So yeah, Nino had a question though regarding. Did you have a question earlier? In terms of Serie A scoring, we talked about it in the last podcast how in Serie A the scoring's been up.
So we emphasize that if you were to compare the stats of Serie A to that of the other top 4 leagues in Europe,
top 5 maybe.
Top 5, yes. We would see that the Serie A actually had the highest prevalence of goal scoring. So I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, do you think this is a result of new tactics offensively? You're getting better communication, better chemistry between your attackers. They're being a little bit more creative, making those creative runs behind the center backs, behind the back line, getting themselves open. Or do you think this is simply due to miscommunication between the defenders, simple defensive mistakes, right? Because we see, especially for me when I was watching the first Sampdoria game, I think they were playing Atalanta. I think it was Atalanta. I'm not too sure. Jason Murillo, former Inter man, by the way, he was playing. Thank God he doesn't play for us
He came from
anymore.
Barcelona, right?
He came from Barcelona,
yeah.
Yes. He was really jumping into the play, wasn't really checking his back.
Was he kind of out of position a lot?
He was out of position. I guess you could say that the nerves of playing on your first team. The Koulibaly, Manolas had a little bit of miscommunication.
You can chalk that up simply to just a first game, second game.
Wait a second, wait. How'd you say his name?
Murillo?
Costas?
Manolas. Manolas.
You said Manolas.
Whatever.
Okay, continue.
Listen,
that sounds like
sounds
like a drug or something, like a tablet.
It's Manolas.
No.
you guys are acting like a bunch of squirrels.
Hey, do you want some more? You want some more liquor?
Let's get back on focus here. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts?
I have a big opinion on this,
and I would love to hear it, and so will our viewers.
Okay, there's many variables, so I'm gonna go into this a long-winded answer, which may be about a minute or so. So basically, there are many variables. Number one, it's early on. So if you look at the trends of leagues across 32 games, 34 games, eventually they'll become what they're going to become, right? If a league has more scoring, a league has more defense, a league has terrible goalkeeping, a league has terrible coaching, whatever it is, you'll eventually find out what it is, right? So it's been 2 weeks, and most of the leagues have been about 2 to 3 weeks into their seasons. Some leagues have been more. No, but every league. Okay, most of the leagues have the same timetable usually, but for the most part, like with Serie A, there are different variables. In some of the games, I don't know if you want to actually pull up which games are high scoring. In the Napoli game, for instance, both in Napoli's games, they have a new defensive core, and sometimes, especially under Ancelotti, whatever, sometimes it takes some time to gel.
That's right. So Sassuolo Sampdoria 4-1 Sassuolo.
Yeah.
Sampdoria got a red card.
Yeah.
Parma Udinese 3-1 Parma.
Yeah.
Torino Atalanta. Torino's looking good. We didn't talk about Torino.
We didn't actually.
They're looking good.
And actually, I want
to Atalanta.
And after this, I want to actually talk about certain players that remain with their
Milan,
clubs.
Lecce, of course, 4-0. Lazio Sampdoria 3-0 Lazio. That was a good game.
And
Genoa Roma 3-3.
Yeah,
that was a good game. Atalanta Spal 3-2. Atalanta 3. Fiorentina Napoli 4-3. Napoli 4.
But I really like the way Di Lorenzo's playing.
Yes.
But I want to get back to this for a moment because I think the high scoring is simply just early season openness. Ideally, coaches in Serie A, they don't want a free-flowing game. They're trying to get their tactics underway. It might take 3, 4, 5 weeks until they start to tighten up the defense because they want to play total defense usually. They want the whole team really should defend. The only teams that I see being open the whole season might be Juve under Sarri once he comes back. He's coming back this weekend against Fiorentina.
So excited.
And maybe Napoli because Napoli is usually a more open team. Yeah. Maybe you could talk about Lazio because Lazio's kept Luis Alberto. They've kept Milik
and they're doing good too.
And they've done okay. Now I want to talk about Immobile for a moment. I don't.
You see his Instagram?
I don't care about his Instagram. Okay, whatever.
You see that one with his girl?
Yeah, I saw
They're
many.
Listening to that De Palma song.
Oh, Fred De Palma.
Una volta ancora.
That's my favorite song. Yeah.
I always like the ones where it's him playing FIFA.
Yeah, and she's dancing.
Yeah.
She's like.
Okay, but take that aside though. Immobile's not a good striker.
Why?
He's just not.
He's a goon.
He's a goon. No,
I don't think he's a goon.
He reminds me of Belotti.
How many times he gets in front of the net? He does something a striker shouldn't do at his level.
On the ball, technically, not the greatest on the ball.
Even his
he's got a
striking.
very good shot though. He's got a good shot.
He's got a good shot.
He's not the most.
He's really aware of his surroundings and he knows the perfect time to make runs. I think. Yes, he makes a lot of stupid mistakes in the box. Maybe it could be pressure, but all the play leading up to that very moment is all on part of Immobile's runs. The way he's a big fan of the dummy.
But don't forget, look who else he's playing with. He's playing with Alberto. He's playing with Milik. He's playing with previously a couple of years ago. He played with Felipe Anderson. He played with some good players. So a lot a lot of work around him.
He's a very intelligent striker.
He's intelligent until he shoots. And then it's just it's like a coin flip almost.
So what is it? You think he takes unnecessary shots?
No, he can't score. He scores.
His finishing's not the
his finishing
is not powerful shot. I think
it's powerful. If you want to tell me, you want to compare, for instance, Higuain, which I think is in Serie A one of the top 5 or 6 strikers.
I hope he's consistently good.
Yeah, or even Icardi. Icardi, I would put up there as a top striker, or Cavani, or Benzema. Yeah, but if you want to compare those guys, Immobile's had high scoring seasons. Like
Last
the
year,
last
31
years
31 goals
until he
in
went to
that
Germany and he scored nothing over there, right, with Borussia Dortmund.
So who's been
that's right.
who's been
And he doesn't score much with Italy either. So
who's been scoring
Well, he
goals,
scored. He scored a brace against Finland. His first goal, and I think 15.
it's Finland.
It was a good header, and I mean he's had a lot. He had a lot of opportunities that game.
I have no issue with him. I just don't think he's the level of like a real top striker in Serie A. I think there's a bit of a secondary.
He hit that like glass, that ceiling there, like that peak.
He's got a bit of a glass ceiling, and you got to look at who he scores against. It's the same thing as the Lukaku situation. Yeah. Who does he score against and everything? I watch him sometimes, and I go, I just don't think he's that good. I mean, I think there's better players. I think Quagliarella might be a little bit better.
But he's off to a good start now.
You want to talk about Belotti? I want to talk about Belotti because we're going to talk about Torino a little bit.
Well,
and
I've been looking at who's been scoring for Torino, and it's been like everybody.
It's been everybody, right?
Which is amazing.
Yeah, I really like that team. Now, a little history of Torino since I'm a historian. They used to have Il Grande Torino, which was arguably the best team in the world at the time. I think they had one of the highest percentages of Italian internationals on that team. I think it was the 1950s or something like that. Someone's got to look it up. But and then the whole team died in a plane crash, Superga disaster, and right. Torino was never the same. They had when Juventus and Torino were first founded, they had executives and players move from Juventus to go to Torino. That's how big Torino was. They were so big, and then eventually that plane disaster killed the entire club. They never recovered. So to see that, and if you want to talk about the derby match too, right, like. It's not a real true derby, the fact that it's crosstown rivals and everything, but there's no real competition. Juve wins most of those games. But now you see Torino, they're kind of coming back a little bit. They're never going to be a top team in Serie A.
But I think they're an all-rounded team.
They could challenge for number 4, and they could challenge. They should definitely challenge for Europa League, I think, along with Lazio,
they had a last push.
Yeah.
At the end of last season.
I think they're just under that line, that Europa League.
They might be under that threshold.
I really like that Simone Verdi transfer from Napoli.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know how they're gonna fit him in, considering that they both like to play Simone Zaza. And
do they play 2-striker formation?
They do play 2-striker formation.
I want to ask you this question. So you have Andrea Belotti, you have Berardi, who plays for Sassuolo.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what about Berardi?
I don't like
his latest hat trick gives him, along with Mbappe and 2 other teenagers. I don't remember.
But Berardi's not a teenager anymore. He's like in his almost mid-20s now, like 24.
Young talent. I don't remember what it was, but they were saying that he's top 4. For the youngest most hat tricks of players.
Really?
So when he comes to play.
I want to ask you guys this question because in Serie A you're seeing a bit of a trend now with players who, instead of going for the big break moment to go to Juventus, to go to Barcelona or whoever, for instance, Belotti had a lot of offers to go to the Premier League, and Chiesa. Although Chiesa is going to leave next year, I think he really pushed for a move. You can also make the case of Berardi, who
that's all relative to how few
or Milinkovic-Savic too. All these players, they're staying at these smaller clubs. I wonder why they're doing that and what's the outcome, because Berardi missed that chance and he's just not going to be that guy. Belotti, he's risking being that guy who's just a big fish in a small pond, staying at Torino the rest of his career.
I like that, obviously, because I want all teams.
For Serie A, for the balance of Serie A, it's better.
Yes.
Yeah. I expected Milinkovic-Savic to move 2 years ago, and he's still there.
But I think it's come to the point that a lot of people are starting to recognize if you're going to be moving to larger teams, unless you haven't had a severe breakout season like Delight or like
Delight.
Okay. Yes.
So how many names?
I think it's 6 or 7.
The minute that came out, I knew it was wrong, and
you need some more cognac. I think you need some more.
I think I've had enough of that. I think you guys are just getting. You guys are just looking at the wrong points here.
No, someone doesn't know how to pronounce certain basic names.
Yes, and I feel like I'm not the only one out there. So
in this room, I think you're the only one.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
And you're the only Interfan. Is there any correlation? I don't know, but lack of education, Interfan. Confusion.
You can't infer causation from correlation.
We have a
was
friend.
well
We have
said,
a friend
actually.
who's a Milan fan. We're gonna bring him in one day to the
Yeah.
podcast, and there's gonna
Yeah.
be a rumble going on.
That's gonna be
fun.
like
That's gonna
that's
be
gonna be like Icardi being thrown into the fire of PSG.
Icardi's gonna do nothing. Oh, over under
I
Icardi.
think PSG's perfect for.
I think Icardi's gonna go get no more than 10 goals this
I
year.
think Wanda wanted to move to Paris, and I think that's why she allowed that transfer.
So it's like
allowed that
She was
transfer.
tired of the shopping malls in Italy.
Yeah,
she
I
wanted
think
to
she
spend
wanted
Daddy's
Milan.
money.
So
Milan
it's almost
wasn't
like
intriguing
it's
enough
like
for it.
it's like when Beckham moved to LA because Victoria Beckham would have the the spotlight of the fashion industry and everything. I mean,
Sorry, that was Nino just flailing his hands.
he's just failing.
to emphasize fashion.
But I mean, he played in Milan too, right?
Yeah, but come on, he played Milan after he went to LA Galaxy,
Yeah.
and it's the equivalent of him when he went to PSG after. Did he really do much at PSG? Did he really do much at Milan? When people say look at the great Milan team they had, there was a bunch of old guys. I mean, they had Beckham, did he had Kaká at the time, or was he
They
with
did
Real
have
Madrid?
Kaká.
Yeah.
Okay, Ronaldinho
I
still
think
there.
they left it the same year. Kaká went back to Real Madrid.
Yeah?
And then he went to.
If I'm not mistaken, Kaká's his biggest spell, obviously, his biggest spell was at Milan though in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
When he won the Ballon d'Or before. Am I saying that wrong too?
I think you're pretty cose with that
Nah,
one.
yeah, that was
That was
good. That was
okay.
good. That was pretty
You
good.
guys are so immature.
We'll let that one slide.
Ballon.
Ballon d'Or.
Sometimes I feel like I shouldn't speak.
Okay, we got about 5 more minutes or so. I want to ask you guys, what do you think the biggest headlines of this coming weekend will be? I think it's going to be the derby match, Juve-Fiorentina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a good game.
I'd like to
Yeah.
call it the Baggio derby because obviously he moved from Fiorentina to Juve. You can call it any name really. How many players were part of those great moments with those two teams? It's a funny derby though because they're not they're not from the same city. Usually you see a derby from the
I
same
mean, we've
city.
got a lot of good games this weekend, to be honest.
We have a lot of
Based
ones,
on
right?
performance from teams like Sassuolo and like Bologna. And
Is Sassuolo playing Roma this weekend?
playing Roma.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah.
Torino Lecce. That should be an interesting
No,
game.
it's Lecce. It's not Lecce.
Lecce, and Cagliari.
Calgary.
Calgary's playing
We'll
Roma.
stop.
Alright,
We'll
yeah,
stop.
that's
We're
a
just
good
joking.
one.
Yeah. No, honestly,
So we love Nino.
we love Nino. Yeah.
We love our Inter fan, our resident Inter fan. But yeah, Napoli's playing Sampdoria as well.
That-
Sampdoria
that-
hasn't been
you know
doing
what they
well,
say.
no, well, obviously, it makes sense because they have a new coach, right?
Right.
They
so
lost
they're
their.
just kinda adjusting, but you know,
Di
it's gonna be a
Francesco?
tough. It's gonna be a tough game. For
I like
Funny, the
I like
owner,
Di
the owners,
Inter Udinese, you guys should have that in the bag.
the Sampdoria owners from
I
Roma.
hope Verona win. Verona.
So the Sampdoria.
AC.
I want to get this. I want to get this
You
in.
never know.
Well, you never
never
know
know.
the way
You never
that
know
AC
these days.
play.
Okay.
Like uncoordinated.
Yeah.
I want to get this in. The Sampdoria owner is from Roma, right? And he loves that Roma connection at the club, so he hired Di Francesco. I think he even wanted De Rossi this past season. De Rossi ended up going to Boca.
Yeah.
We haven't
That was
really
crazy.
talked about that
Did
either.
you see him fucking tackle the shit?
He
out
is
I
perfect
saw
for that
that.
league,
of
though.
He kills.
yeah.
No, you see
he's
that he's
for it.
perfect. Yeah, I
perfect
think
for
that me it was
it. Actually, that was the caption for that when he tackled
Should have
one
went to
player.
Turkey if he's gonna talk like that.
no, but to me, Argentina is one of the most tenacious leagues out there. I think.
Sturdy,
Yeah, it's very
rugged.
really rugged. Yeah, almost
He
full
holds
time
great
football.
talent though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
but then you get a guy like Christian.
Lautaro.
Then you get a guy like then you get a guy like Christian Pavon goes to MLS.
Pavon's good.
He went to MLS instead
He's
of.
not on Boca anymore?
No, and then Ibrahimovic, he came out and said he shouldn't be at LA Galaxy. He's too good for this league. He bashed his own
Yeah,
league. So,
That's just deep, bro.
Ibrahimovic is also saying that he could probably go back to playing at Manchester United.
Ibrahimovic,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could
I want to
go.
see him come back to an upper level.
There's a lot of rumors that he might go because who do
think
they
he
have
should
as a
come
striker
back
at
to
Man U?
Serie A.
They don't have.
Rashford.
They're playing
Everyone's
Rashford
injured.
right now.
Rashford isn't really a pure striker either. Neither is
I think he should
Martial,
come
but
back
I'm
to
not.
Serie A.
I'm not a
I
fan
think
of
he'd
him.
do well in Serie A. I'd love to see him at like Brescia with Balotelli. Could you imagine that?
What's up?
Balotelli's on a 4-game
He's
suspension.
he's
gets
He's
back
back
next
he's
next
back
week
Not this weekend.
against
next
Juve.
week. Oh, against Juve.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
So
That's right.
it's gonna be a fun one.
That
Yeah.
should be nice.
So, what do you think the score of the Juve Fiorentina game is going to be? I'm going to go around the table. So, Anthony, what do you think the score is going to be?
Sarri's back, right?
Yeah, and it's in
Sarri's back?
Florence too.
Sarri.
Sorry.
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 So, okay,
Sorry.
quick. What do you think the score is
Sorry.
going to be?
Inter's getting fed up with us. Like
Sure.
They're on the road. Juve's on the road, right?
Juve's on the road. I'm gonna say 2-1
2-1 for who?
for Juve.
Juve? What do you think? Nino.
I'm gonna go 2-2.
2-2? What do you think, Glenn?
Crap.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony.
Keep my fingers
2-1's pretty good.
2-1?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a crazy score, 1-1. So, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this shortened podcast. It was,
It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Pre-weekend podcast.
It's sometimes a pleasure.
Well, sometimes the odd time we may get a couple of podcasts in a week. Usually it's gonna be once a week, but it's nice to talk about the upcoming weekend.
Spur of the moment type of thing.
Spur of the moment. We were drinking a little bit. We're like, hey, why not? Let's just do a podcast. So, and I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank our podcast members, Anthony Canavici, Nino Ciottola, we can't pronounce any names, and Michael Galati. No, we're gonna end the podcast.
I feel like you guys are just nitpicking at my pronunciation because you know that Inter are going to win this year. And
okay, we're done with the podcast.
I have a little bit of science with this.
Inter always has that
When someone comes up with a new idea, right? There are three stages. There are three stages that people go through. One, they're very resistant, and then
okay, we're gonna get to
some
theories now.
They start
to conversation about people's acceptance of new ideas.
Anyway,
they start to insult. It's a series of insults.
It's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism.
And
the
so
unknown.
the three
just
of
like
you,
interwinning.
I could read.
It hasn't happened for many years.
I can read your eyes.
Anyway,
Inter's gonna win,
so
and you guys are just
trying to
take at me before I get my.
It was a
We'll bring this up. We'll bring this up in 4 weeks when Juve face Inter for the first time.
Okay,
this is gonna be amazing.
It was a perfect ending of saying the names and then you had to go into that rant. Anyway, so thanks again for listening. I'm the host, John Paul Leguano, and we'll talk to you next week after the hopefully the good derby match. So.